Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna talk about this right here.
Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, fake game, staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign.
I don't know if you guys can tell from this angle, but if you go in a little closer, you'll see a lot of algae that's been building up on the top of this Monte Carlo. In the beginning, it wasn't that bad because I had a lot of shrimp, but now I only have about I'd say about 4 or 5 in here. As you can see, there's one right there, just going to town on some algae. But yeah, I went ahead and took all these shrimps out because they weren't really doing too well in this tank breeding wise. And I also got this little guy right here. I was planning on adding those shrimps back into my sump anyways because I was planning on getting more fish in this tank, and then the more fish I add in this aquarium, the less chance of them actually breeding. So without my algae eating team, as you can see, the surface of these plants got super dirty and they're just covered, man. And then this guy's just running around going to town on whatever animals they can find and eat. And yeah, man, this thing right here is looking real ugly. Alright guys, so the plan of action for today is we're going to the pet store to go find an algae eater for this aquarium. I'm thinking an Amano shrimp because this pea puffer right here, it doesn't really mess with things that are like bigger than it. So these cherry shrimps right here, it just looks at it a little bit. Maybe it'll nudge it a couple times, but for the most part, it's not going to eat these shrimps. And from what I'm seeing right here, it's not really doing damage to them at all. And it's not even messing with them. It's just probably just looking at them because it's curious. But for the most part, this pea puffer right here doesn't really care about these bigger shrimp. So that's the plan for right now. I was just about to leave the house, so let's go ahead and cut the camera off right here and then turn it back on when we come back. Alright guys, so we went ahead and got the shrimps. As you can see, they're pretty good size here. They're pretty good size. If I can get them to come down a little bit. Alright, so we went ahead and went to 2 local fish stores. The first one I went to, it just had really small Amanos. I was afraid that they were going to get picked off by the pea puffers, so I went ahead and skipped out on them. And I'm glad I did because then I went to another fish store and look at this. Look at the size of these Amanos right here. It's huge. So these guys right here will go well with the Dwarf Puffer. It shouldn't be a problem. They're pretty big. And yeah, I can't wait to add them into the tank. I was going to add more autos into the aquarium, but I wanted to add these guys in first to see how they'll do. And hopefully they do good because there's a lot of algae for them to eat. These are pretty big shrimp though, so I know that they'll do way more damage compared to the cherry shrimp. Look at that, dude. They're pretty fat, dude. They're pretty fat. They're almost as big as the auto. Alright, so let's go ahead and head back to the house, add these guys into the tank, and then I'll pick up the camera maybe like a couple of days later so you guys can see like the progression that they're doing to the algae. So catch you guys then. Alright guys, so it's been about 2 days since I added in these Amanos. Ever since I added in the Amanos, the pufferfish has had a complete change of heart. Check this out. So before adding in the Amanos, all the fish would be out and about. Like the autos would be chilling here, those embers would be outside. I had some cherry shrimps that were in the back that were always outside in the front. But then everyone just started hiding. And then I saw this. See that rotten piece? That piece right there is a dead shrimp. The puffer just kind of went ham and just killed it. And then I decided to just leave the body in there because, I mean, if he already killed it, might as well just let the puffer eat the rest of it, right? Then he didn't. He just killed it and left it there. And then the Amano is hiding back here. Everyone is just kind of hiding. Ever since I put those Amanos in, this guy right here just got super aggressive. Look at him. Super aggressive, just chasing everyone in the back. See, the auto is back here too, hiding. So I think during my lunch today, I'm going to go ahead and drop this one off and then find another fish to go into this tank. I initially thought that the pufferfish was going to be great, but it's not looking like that. At least we got to try the Dwarf Puffer in this tank. Compared to my old puffer, this one right here is super aggressive. I don't know if it's like a gender difference and stuff, but this one right here is way more aggressive compared to my old puffer. My old puffer would never attack anything that's bigger than them that he can't eat. This one is just killing them, so yeah, I think it's time to go. So I moved the Dwarf Puffer in this little container, getting him ready for transport. And once I moved him out, the Emperor Tetras just start coming out to the front, and they're just like dancing around, like they're excited to see him go. This is kind of nuts. Before, when I had the Dwarf Puffer actually in the tank, these two were hiding in the back in the corner and stuff. You can tell that these fish were just so look, they're dancing too. It's kind of crazy. So it's like everyone's excited that this one's going away. Alright guys, so what we got here is 5 pygmy Corydoras. I've always wanted to keep a big group of Corys, but I just never had the tank space to keep like the regular sized ones, like the peppered Corys, panda Corys, green laser Corys. But with these pygmy Corys being some of the smallest, if not the smallest Corydoras in the world, you're able to do it in smaller tanks. Now with my group of 5, they're pretty mesmerizing when it comes to them schooling together and stuff, but if you can just imagine a group of 100 in maybe like a 50 gallon or something, that would definitely be pretty nuts. But in my case, I only have 5 with this little tank, and I think they're going to be a great addition. So for these pygmy Corys, it just so happened that the local fish store that I donated my Dwarf Puffer to, they just had a whole bunch of these in stock. They were at a great price, so I went ahead and just picked up 5 for this tank right here. I think it's going to be a great addition because when it comes to pygmies and I think the other dwarf Cory, when they school, they school like Tetras. So with my 2 embers, if something were to happen and they feel the need to school, they will just school up with my embers, and it'll just be one big ball. So after adding in these fish, there's 2 things that I changed up in this aquarium. I went ahead and took off the sponge that's on the power head because over time, fish that get scared in this tank, they tend to dive behind the sponge and get stuck between the glass and the sponge. They don't know how to get out, and they just end up dying back there, and that's how I lost a lot of my ember tetras. Another thing is I went ahead and got the Indian almond leaf folded up into a little square, and I tucked it behind the rock. This way I get the benefits of having Indian almond leaf or catappa leaves in my aquarium. I get the tannins I want, but I just won't get that big bulk of Indian almond leaf in the background, if that makes sense. I just want to make it look a little bit more presentable. When I had the Indian almond leaf in the background, it was kind of just there, kind of out of place, and yeah, it just looked a little off, so that's why I went ahead and just tucked it behind the rock. So I've come to the conclusion that I'm not going to be adding any more predators in this tank. I mean, it's a peaceful looking tank. I had no business adding in a Dwarf Puffer in here. I don't know what I was thinking. I think with these pygmy Corydoras, it's going to look really good. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. I know this episode was a little messy, like going to the pet store, buying fish, and then getting rid of fish, and then buying fish again. Yeah, it just had to be done. That's pretty much it for today's video. I just wanted to give you guys an update on that tank right there, and I personally think everything worked out for the better. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace guys.